Did you know? The Room's cult following can be mostly attributed to just one person, 5 Second Films' screenwriter Michael Rousselet. Very few people saw The Room during its initial run in theaters, so few in fact it made only $1,900 while in theaters. One of the people who did see it was Rousselet, who Entertainment Weekly described as patient zero of the film's cult. Rousselet saw The Room in what he described as an absolutely empty theater, but he found the movie so entertaining that towards the end of the movie, he called several of his friends to tell them they had to see it. 3 days later, Rousselet gathered a crowd of more than 100 people to watch the film, many of whom emailed producer, director, and star Tommy Wiseau to offer words of praise. This encouraged Wiseau enough to schedule an encore midnight showing at a Laemmle theater. Word of mouth about the film caused the turnout to be greater than Wiseau expected, and the director arranged to have The Room screened monthly, further building its status as a cult classic. Wiseau had been working on the story for The Room for years before turning it into a film, and it was originally conceived as a stage play. However, Wiseau decided to make it a screenplay because he thought a film would be more profitable than a play. Even before it was a film, Wiseau spun The Room into a 500-page novel, which he described as the same story, but much more detail-oriented. Wiseau wants to publish the book eventually, and one publisher has expressed interest in picking it up if Wiseau can cut its page count down to just 300. According to Wiseau's friend and co-star Greg Sestero, Wiseau's original vision for the film was very different than what ended up on screen. In The Disaster Artist, his novel chronicling his relationship with Wiseau and the filming of The Room, Sestero explained that Wiseau would often bring up new ideas mid-shoot, including one scene where Johnny's car levitated off of his roof and flew into the sky. When asked how this would work, Wiseau said, "It's just possible side plot. Maybe Johnny is vampire." Wiseau later confided in Sestero, saying, "You see how creative I am? Somebody's good director." In addition to starring in the film as Mark, Sestero is also credited as a line producer and assistant to Mr. Wiseau in the credits of The Room. Sestero explained to Rolling Stone that his additional credits were because he did everything that needed to be done, including organizing the crew for shoots, making sure everyone was paid, and ensuring that everyone received their meals on set. To thank Sestero for his extra work, Wiseau tried to credit him in as many ways as possible in the film. This was done even though Sestero explained to Wiseau that being an assistant isn't really an honor. Lead actor and assistant don't really go together. These additional roles for Sestero weren't the only strange inclusions in the film's credits. Sestero claims that two of the people credited as executive producers, Chloe Letsky and Drew Caffey, had little to nothing to do with The Room as it was being filmed. Letsky was a much older woman and confined to a wheelchair during production and never visited the set, and Drew Caffey died 4 years before The Room even entered production. Sestero again explained that Wiseau felt that the friends that supported his vision for The Room deserved credit somewhere in the movie, and Letsky and Caffey must have supported Wiseau and the film somewhere along the line. According to Sestero, Wiseau was proud to say that all The Room soundtrack was original music. Wiseau found a local composer and several local artists to work on the film, including the R&B songs that play over the sex scenes. Sestero was uncomfortable with the sex scenes involving his character and said that he walked out of the theater at the premiere before it started because he didn't want to see what was in it. He also insisted on keeping his pants on, despite Wiseau wanting the cast to show some flesh. Fortunately for Sestero, he says that The Room did not ruin his sex life, and no one has ever called him Mark in bed.
What a story, Mark.
One of the traditions for fans of The Room is to bring plastic spoons and throw them at the screen during midnight screenings. This is because Johnny and Lisa's apartment is filmed with framed pictures of spoons, though the film never acknowledges them. These pictures are stock photos that came with the frames, which the production team bought to decorate the set. Wiseau elected to not replace the placeholder images, with Sestero explaining that Wiseau just wanted to get on with the film and didn't care enough to get new pictures. Sestero also explained that the production staff similarly didn't care, and just wanted to fill the set with whatever props they could so filming could wrap up quickly. Wiseau offers a different explanation for the pictures, saying that they have a deep symbolic purpose. He explained that they represent the United States' dependence on disposable and unhealthy products. Despite its unknown cast and director, The Room had a budget of $6 million, all of which was financed by Wiseau himself. The budget ballooned because Wiseau insisted that the crew shoot simultaneously in both 35mm film and high-definition video, and that they purchase the camera equipment instead of renting it, and all of the rooftop scenes were filmed against a green screen. Wiseau claims that the source of his wealth and the money used to film The Room came entirely from importing and selling leather jackets from Korea. For over 5 years, a billboard advertising The Room stood over Highland Avenue in Hollywood, California. During this half-a-decade period, Wiseau covered the entire cost of the billboard himself. It's estimated that it would have cost roughly $5,000 a month, so the total for the 5-year run would have been in the neighborhood of $300,000. The ad was removed in 2008, but the billboard was used years later by Sestero to advertise the Disaster Artist book. Interestingly, the billboard was just a few blocks away from the Dolby Theater, where the Academy Awards are held annually. Wiseau ran the room in theaters just so it could be nominated for the Academy Awards. The Oscars require that a film must run in a theater for 7 consecutive days to be eligible for nominations, though Wiseau initially ran the room for 2 weeks. The film was unfortunately not recognized by the Academy, though this didn't upset Wiseau. He told Gawker, "We actually, on database, I don't know if you check or not, but we didn't want anything, but I'm proud of it. Ha 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 ha." Ironically, James Franco's adaptation of The Disaster Artist about the making of The Room is considered a contender in the Best Adapted Screenplay category in the 90th Academy Awards. Despite not receiving recognition from any major awards, The Room has certainly had an impact on the world of cinema, just perhaps not in the way Wiseau intended. Ross Moran, an assistant professor of film studies at St. Cloud University, has described The Room as the Citizen Kane of bad movies, going as far to say that it is one of the most important films of the past decade. It exposes the fabricated nature of Hollywood. Wiseau has retroactively stated that The Room is self-aware and that it was intended to be a black comedy. However, an anonymous member of the cast told Entertainment Weekly that this was certainly not the case, explaining he was trying to put together a drama. It was basically a stage to show off his acting ability. Sestero also maintains that the film was produced seriously. However, though Wiseau saw the film as an intense drama, Sestero thought that the script was humorous and endearing from the beginning. He explained to Rolling Stone, "I always considered Tommy to be someone who saw life differently, and I appreciated that. I appreciated that with his script too." Though Wiseau has embraced The Room's place in cinematic history as the go-to example of so bad it's good filmmaking, he's still put off by people calling the film bad. In fact, Wiseau believes that The Room has had a positive impact on the world in unexpected ways. Wiseau genuinely believes that the midnight showings of his movie have helped reduce the crime rate in America, because young people go to see The Room rather than going out to commit crimes. He explained, "Let's assume you don't see The Room. You don't have The Room. You walk on the street, grab the rock, and by accident you hit somebody, you know? Accident happen. Get them arrested, go to jail, whatever. Instead, you see The Room." He also points to the fact that New Yorkers are nicer to him now than before the film was released, and that more people in the San Francisco Bay Area ride bicycles as evidence of The Room's positive impact. He continued, "We change, and I think we change in a positive way. I think The Room is like a growing also. People change with The Room." When asked why he included the chicken storyline in The Room, where several characters refer to others as chickens, Wiseau told Gawker that he included the term chicken in the script because he wanted to make a star of the chicken. Let's see what happened. He also added, "You know, I want to be vegan." According to Gawker, he was eating a piece of salmon at the time.
Bye.
And if you want more facts about films that changed cinema, check out our new video on Shrek. And if you want to see something that made just as big an impact, if not permanent damage to the world, check out this Ninja Turtles thing.